Hi everyone, in this video we're going to take a look at another two forms in which we can give nurture to the young people in our lives, and they are conditional care and overindulgence. When we're thinking about conditional care and overindulgence, we are really focusing on the hard shoulders and the rough terrain we can sometimes find ourselves in. And as we know, if a car does find itself in hard terrain or on the hard shoulder, the car is able to move, but it's not able to be at its optimum. And that really speaks to these forms of care. They are forms of care, but at their essence, the care is not okay, and it doesn't allow the caregiver and the young person to really show up and get what they need so that they can thrive and be at their best. And our job is to get ourselves or our team back onto that smooth road where we're really in tune to what we need and what the young people in our care need. Most of us who drive will know that most drivers will hit a hard shoulder now and again. And really the challenge is to get back onto the road without overcompensating and hitting the opposite shoulder or ditch. Let's take a closer look at these two types of nurture. So first of all, we've got conditional care. And conditional care is where nurture is provided only when a child earns it. In a sense, you can think of a child having to jump over hurdles or having to really please the caregiver to earn the right of nurture. So it's almost like paying the young person for being able to serve the needs of the adult nurturer or parent. And another aspect of conditional care that I want to bring to us is that at its essence, it's nurture which is withheld until the needs or expectations of the caregiver are met. So if we were to use the metaphor of jumping over hurdles, that is exactly what a young person would need to do in order to get the care which they need. When a young person is in receipt of this type of care, some of the messages which they can hear is they are not important, they are not of value. They must strive to please others. And sometimes they can even feel that others' needs are more important than their own needs. Now, when it comes to overindulgence, this is when nurture is provided regardless of whether it is needed or helpful. And you can almost see this nurture as being a way to soothe the care and needs of the nurture giver rather than the actual child. This nurture is solely focused on the needs of the adult educator parent rather than what the child actually needs in that moment. And overindulgence also promotes continuing dependency on the caregiver. It can paint a picture that the young person is incompetent, and it can teach a child to not think independently and not be responsible for self, because through their experience what they need is not being given. And what the child can sometimes hear when we offer this type of nurture is, we don't want you to grow. They can really internalize the message of, I don't need to know what I need. And to get my needs met, I have to manipulate. Sometimes this can be one of the only strategies which young people can use to really cause adults in their lives to become aware of what they have been trying to communicate all of this time. So an example we can look at that would really illustrate some of the differences between overindulgence and conditional care would be if there is a young person in a class doing some maths and they are in a place where they're becoming a little bit frustrated because they are having some trouble and some issues with the work. If I was in a position where I was offering conditional care, what I might say to that student is, I want you to get out of my classroom and I want you to come back when you have cheered up. And what I communicate through this action is, you will only get the help you need if you are showing me the emotions which I deem as acceptable. And likewise, in that same example of a frustrated student, if I was given some overindulgence as a form of nurture, I might perhaps say, oh no, you poor thing, don't worry about the work, just sit and relax for the rest of the lesson. Here's some paper, you can draw on it. And what I communicate through my actions is, you have come across something that's too difficult and is too much for me to bear. I'm going to remove that obstacle and focus solely on my own needs. Something that I mentioned before, which I really want to address, is now that we know what conditional care and overindulgence is, how do we ensure we get back on the road of offering positive ways of nurture and don't end up on the opposite shoulder where we give another form of not okay nurture? And for me, this really begins where we are able, as the nurture givers, to be aware that it's important for us not to nurture out of guilt, but rather that we nurture out of awareness of what the child needs. And when we nurture out of guilt, it's almost like looking into a mirror. The mirror forces us to focus inwardly on our needs, and it doesn't allow us to nurture outwardly, where we are able to see what is actually going on for that young person. Whereas when we nurture out of awareness, we are able to see the child, what they are experiencing, and what they need from us as a response. And the response could be offering supportive care or assertive care. Okay, so in our next video, we are going to be taking a look at the last two forms of offering nurture, which are abuse and neglect. And as always, we're going to break them down, have some examples, and really have some ways us as adults can really get ourselves back into places where we are offering positive and appropriate forms of nurture. Okay guys, thank you very much for listening. Please write me a comment if you have any questions. Please like the video and subscribe, and I'll see you very soon.